Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. Please let me know in the comments if you can actually hear me. Um, but hopefully you can. Hello Eva, how are you doing? So how's your Sunday, guys? How's your Sunday going, guys? What's been happening? Sorry, my table tends to shake a little bit, but hopefully you can see me okay. So this today was a bit weird because the clocks went forward, and I kind of forgot the night before, and so I thought I was going to wake up early and I was going to do some stuff before, and then I realized that the clocks went forward and I was like really tired and I was like, why am I so tired at this time? And then I ended up realizing that the clocks had gone forward. So yeah. Hello, beginnings. Hope you guys are all doing well. So today I kind of just wanted to have a chat, just see how you guys are doing. If you've got any questions as well, definitely just let me know because I asked a question on Instagram actually, I think it was yesterday. And I was kind of trying to get to know you guys in terms of where you're at. So in terms of your savings or maybe your investments. And so I realized that the majority of you, I think, don't really struggle to save money. I don't think that's a problem. But when it came to investing, that's when it was really interesting because I could see that I think it was almost half of the people that voted basically said that they haven't started investing. So it was just really interesting to see kind of people's responses and explaining, why exactly they hadn't been investing. Some of them, it was a lot to do with confidence. So not actually being able to, I guess, just not having the confidence to start investing. There's a lot of fear of losing money. And then there was also, I guess, the lack of knowledge. There's a lot of free resources, which can be great, but I think it's just quite difficult sometimes to understand exactly, how you should be investing. What do some of the terms mean? And I think some people, when they are talking about investing, say, for example, in the stock market, it can just seem a little bit overcomplicated. And for me, you all know that I like simple. Simple is better for me. So I'll try and make sure that I do some videos that are a bit more simple because that's just kind of how I've learned. Hey, Emily. Any advice on saving/investing whilst at university? Oh, if you are at uni, Emily, I'm so jealous because I wish I started saving or investing at university. I think this is probably the best time. So personally, what I would probably do is I would try and figure out what your expenses are likely to be within the term. So if you're living, say, off campus and you've got to pay accommodation and things like that, figure out, you should probably know, I think you know how much your accommodation is likely to be. So if you're getting student loans, for example, or if you're just getting any forms of income, make sure you take your accommodation out first, and then also take some money out for any food that you might want to be doing, any groceries, anything like that. Probably entertainment as well, because you're at uni. You probably, well, I don't know if you can go out because it's lockdown, but if you want to be able to, go out to eat or, join in some of the events. So I would try and sort of make a budget. It's probably going to be a little bit agile, I would say, especially if you're at uni, but try and see, how much you're likely to spend each week. And then I would probably think about your core expenses first, so things like your accommodation and food, and then just try and take a percentage out of that to save money. So whether that's, towards your investments or whether it's to any short-term goals or anything like that. So I would definitely try and figure out your core expenses first and then sort of go from there. But yeah, if you're able to save and invest from uni, you'll honestly you'll be laughing in a few years. So yeah, you'll be fine. Hello, primary. Oh, are you a teacher? Because I see GCSE exam papers. Watch your videos, receive, subscribed. Oh, thank you. You've got your own maths YouTube channel. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do have a few savings videos. I will probably do a few more saving videos because there are certain things I think that I probably have stopped buying to save money. So I think I want to do a video on that. But definitely check out my channel. I think, I don't know if was it last week? I did a video on how long it took me to save £1,000, which, guys, it took so long for me to actually figure out my budget because my budgeting was so bad the first few months. And I think you could see that I really struggled to track my expenses. So it was a little bit shambolic, to be honest, trying to figure out, okay, so how much was I able to save? And then obviously it got to a point where I actually took some of my savings out because I need to pay for something, because obviously I didn't have any sinking funds, so I needed to figure that out. And yeah, it's just interesting when you first start trying to save money, but then when you haven't planned for other expenses, it can be a bit difficult for you to then realize exactly how much you are able to save. So yeah, definitely check out, I've got a playlist as well on like saving, so you can check that out. Yeah, Eva, for those in the UK, invest through an ISA account. Yeah, so when I invest, I tend to invest through my ISA. I have also opened a FREETRADE account. So that's a general investment account. I'm not really going to be using that too much, but it was really for me to kind of test the platform, because I know with the platform that I use, which is Trading 212, there's a lot of people that have to be on waiting lists because I think they've just oversubscribed and they've got to do things on their back end. So I decided I was going to just try out FREETRADE, see what it's like, see how it is. It's very similar to Trading 212, I would say. They're kind of commission free, although Trading 212, I know, have recently had started adding fees, which is about 0.15%, which is still very, very low compared to other platforms. So I'm not complaining too much. But with FREETRADE, the only thing is that the ISA, I think at the moment it's about £3 a month, which, to be fair, is still actually quite cheap because they are still fee free. So just make sure that you're doing your research when it comes to you picking your platform. But if you do want to try FREETRADE, I do have a link. I think it's in my description, but make sure you're just doing your research and figure out what's right for you, because those platforms aren't for everyone, to be honest, and kind of depends in terms of your goals and what you're looking to invest in as well. Yeah, you've saved so much because of COVID. Oh, I know. Do you know what? Even though obviously everything that's happened is tragic from some parts, but from other parts, it's just, I've really just liked the idea of being able to save money and not having to say no when it feels really bad, but a lot of the times I'd feel bad when my friends would be like, oh yeah, do you want to go out this weekend? And oh, do you want to go out to eat this weekend? And all of that. And I'd just be like, that's not my budget. Let me not lie. So yeah, I just feel like it's not been as, I don't know how to explain it. I don't feel as guilty because we have to stay at home, which means that I can save money. So yeah, I feel really bad though, because obviously when my friends want to go out, I'm like, that's great. Can we like do something different, like eat at home? Because I don't like going out to eat that often, because it ends up adding up. Like if you're spending 20 to 30 pounds at a restaurant every single week, like that adds up. And I could have used half of that money, if not most of that money, to start investing. So yeah, I'm just I'm quite happy that I've been able to just stay at home and just not feel so guilty. Eva, I did save a lot too. Yeah, no, Eva, you're a trooper. I know that you save and invest quite a lot, so that's good. Hey, Trading with CJ, how are you? So if you guys don't know, Trading with CJ, he's also another YouTuber. If you're very interested in the stock market and you want to know a lot more in detail, especially when it comes to, picking individual companies, things like that, definitely check his channel out. He is great, very knowledgeable. There are 5 different ISAs. Yeah, I don't know. Is it 5? Because I know you've got you've got the stocks and shares ISA, you've got the cash ISA. There's also a junior ISA as well if you've got kids. There's also the lifetime ISA as well. So usually you can use that to save for a house, or if you want to use it for retirement as well. So the government will also give you a percentage. So there's that. And I think there's also another type of ISA. I don't remember the name though, but yeah, there's quite a few ISAs. Oh yeah, no, do you know what? I've only done one actually, CJ. So this is my second one. So this is the second time that I'm going live. I really need to stop moving this table because I think it's just moving my computer. But yeah, so I tend to, what was I saying before? Yeah, I tend to invest through my ISA, but then there's also the general investment account. The only thing with that though is that obviously you can be liable for things like capital gains tax, but you do sort of have an allowance. So I think the amount that I'd be investing anyway, I probably won't reach that allowance at all anyway. So for me, I don't mind just kind of testing it out. But most of my money goes towards my ISA, to be honest. What's your YouTube goals? Even though you don't like eating out, what's the first restaurant you would go to? So in terms of my YouTube goals, so I did set a goal, I think, at the end of last year, the end of 2020. So I set a goal. I set a subscriber goal because I just thought it'd be hilarious just to see how that would go. And I think I set a goal of about 25,000 subscribers. We will see, because I feel like that was probably a bit more ambitious. And although I did say in that video when I was talking about my financial goals that that's probably the most ambitious goal. So we will see. Although, like, at the moment, I'm not really too bothered because I feel like I get to know the community here. And then I think I've said this before, is that I kind of have this small fear that the more people that you have, the less you can get to know other people. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm happy sort of where it's going now. The first restaurant I would go to, it's a really good question because I'm not particularly sure. I don't know. I mean, technically, I've been to McDonald's. Does that count? Because I actually went to McDonald's yesterday as a takeaway. So yeah, guys, I'm not that frugal where I literally just don't eat ever, because I literally went to McDonald's yesterday because I didn't want to cook. But I only do that sort of once in a while. So that kind of, and that was in my budget anyway. Before anyone comes for me, it was in my budget. So yeah, I'm actually not too sure. I do really like Chinese, so I probably would go to like a Chinese or a Chinese restaurant. So yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Do you know what? I hadn't even thought about, when I'd go back to restaurants and things like that. To be fair though, I think when I do go back, I'd probably go somewhere that's outside. I reckon I'd probably go somewhere outside. So if there's a place that, maybe has a garden outside or anything like that, hopefully during the summer, I'll definitely check it out. But yeah, in terms of, and the one thing I would say is though that I miss is things like entertainment, because I really like things like activities. So whether it's things, like mini golf or going to the cinema, things like that, I really enjoy. So I think that's probably what I've missed more than eating out, I would say. Either exactly with lockdown, I didn't need to make excuses not to go out with my friends. Oh, I know, right? In fact, I've not seen them face to face since August last year. Yeah, I know. Do you know what? Because I love my friends, but like sometimes you just want to be at home. It's really bad. But yeah, but obviously, like, we obviously catch up on FaceTime and Zoom and things like that. And it's nice to see them face to face most of the time as well. It's nice to see them, but I think it's just if we could do it at home, that'd be better, because then I could stay at home and not spend money. But I feel like I just sound like a really frugal person, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. So yeah, it's probably because I like cooking at home as well. So I wouldn't mind like making a meal and then having friends over. So yeah, Zoom is kind of an addiction when virtually meeting your friends. Yeah, I know. We did used to do, when I think it was during the first lockdown, we would be doing like quiz nights, which was really good. So that was really interesting, just because everyone was obviously at home. But yeah, no, it was still really nice, to be honest. I do love Chinese food too, but with YouTube I prepare it at home. Yeah, do you know what? Because I haven't actually cooked Chinese food at home. I usually will go out to eat something. So yeah, I definitely need to start learning. So if you've got any recipes, let me know. How do you expect your saving, investing habits will change once restrictions are lifted? To be fair though, I don't think it will change that much, just because I kind of had these habits before lockdown, but I wasn't living here in this house. I was living outside London. I didn't really tend to see my friends that often. And actually where I was working, where I worked wasn't in London. So I remember when I used to work in London, I used to spend a lot of money because we would always want to go out. Like, my work colleagues would always want to go out like every Thursday or every Friday and go out for drinks or whatever it was, and just hang around. But in my other workplace now, whenever we had work, because where our office is, most people would drive, and there wasn't really anywhere close around the area, so most people would actually just go home. So it meant that I could just go home, and so I wouldn't need to go out. The most we would do actually was have lunch in the canteen, and the canteen food was really cheap. It was like £2 £1.50 for a meal. So yeah, that's probably where I'd spend my money. Sometimes we go to London maybe like once a quarter or something, but it wasn't too often. And also when we went to London, because my workplace, we're a hospitality company, so we have restaurants, we would go to the restaurants and we'd have like 25% off. So for me, it actually wasn't that bad. So yeah, I don't think it will change that much, to be honest. I think it will probably be the same. Obviously I am getting married this year, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how our spending habits are. Although my partner has kind of always been a saver, I'd say I was probably what happens there, but I feel like we still want to do things like go out and stuff. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. You mentioned aiming to get a buy-to-let property. What location do you have in mind and why? Yeah, so I hope you can hear me because this says my connection is unstable. Am I still connected? Okay, I think I'm connected. Sorry, it said that my connection was unstable, so I'm hoping it's still working. But in terms of my buy-to-let, so not well, our buy-to-let. So we have been looking at the north area. So I've kind of had my eyes on Liverpool area, maybe Leeds, maybe Sheffield, Nottingham, those kind of areas, just really because they're a lot more affordable compared to the southeast, because southeast is so expensive. I would know, I'm in London. So those are kind of the areas that I've been looking. But I think what's so interesting is just kind of having a look at the trends that's happening, because you obviously now have a lot of people that would live near the city because they wanted to be close to the city, but now because of what's happened, you've had a lot of people that have moved out in the city, and that's probably why, for example, rental prices have dropped in London, central London. There's not a lot of people there. So I'm kind of thinking, because my idea was to try and get maybe a flat near the city, because I was basically thinking, would we sort of target kind of probably like working millennials, just because we're kind of working millennials. So I think it'd be easier for us to kind of buy something where we kind of know what they would like. But because we're now in this kind of situation, I'm kind of wondering, what's it going to be like? Will people still want to live near the city, or will they just want to live kind of outside the city? Are most people going to be working from home? Because I know that I probably would want to work from home. So I'm just trying to figure out kind of what's happening. But I still am looking at those kind of areas. Sheffield is very cheap, I would say. Sheffield is very cheap. Like, you could get like a nice 1 to 2 bedroom flat for like under 100 grand. So yeah, very, very interesting, especially when you compare it to London. London's so expensive. Hi, Abby. Yeah, I know, right? Quiz nights are great, but I'm really competitive. I don't know, like, if you could tell, but I'm a really competitive person. So I used to do a lot of sports. So yeah, when I don't win at quiz nights, I don't like it. So I have to win. But yeah, that's a fun fact about me if you didn't know. I moved cities. Hi, Fia. I moved cities, and now I'm not close with my friends back home anymore. Yeah, this happened to me. It was such a great. I love my friends, but it was such a great excuse, because then you'd have to plan exactly where I'd have to plan with them when I would actually see them, and it would only be maybe like once a month. So it meant I could then budget for the time that I was going to meet them. So whenever I was going to go out to eat, I could put that in my budget. So yeah. Siang's Food Workshop. Oh, okay. Channel for UK recipes. Do you know what? I'll need to check that out, Abby, because yeah, I've been thinking, I think I said this on the last live as well. I've been thinking about trying to venture out into other food recipes, because sometimes I can be quite boring and just cook the same thing over and over again until I get bored, and then I'll change it up. So I need to just get out of my comfort zone and just start changing things up. They were reinforcing all my bad spending habits. Yeah, I know. Do you know what? It's so nice to have friends, but I think I tend to just be careful, because your network is your net worth, as they like to say. So I think even though some of my friends may, I may go to my friends for certain pieces of advice, whether it's, maybe to do with relationships or anything like that. But when it comes to money, it's very different. So I think you kind of just have to be careful in terms of how they're spending their money and how they see money as well, because it might be different to yours. So you kind of just have to navigate that. But it's quite hard when it comes to family, I think, as well. But you kind of just have to realize what your goals are and just take that into consideration. Congrats on getting married. Yes, thank you. So yeah, I'm hoping it will still be all okay. We've had to kind of deal with this because we were supposed to get married in June, and then obviously we had the roadmap in terms of what would be happening, and so we're now having to navigate when we can do it. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, very excited. We're still gonna do it anyway, regardless. So yeah. Liverpool is very cheap. Yes, Liverpool is very cheap, and I really like Liverpool as well. I have a cousin that lives there, so I've been there a few times. So I really like Liverpool. It's very cheap, it's very affordable, and I think there's a lot of construction and things that are going on as well in Liverpool. So I think it's going to be a really popular city, and it's very close to Manchester, obviously as well. And Manchester's, I think, is becoming like the second London. So I think that's a really good area. But obviously there are different houses in different areas in terms of like the price and whether it's good or not. So even though Liverpool may be cheap, there's probably going to be some good places and bad places, but it's obviously very similar to other cities in London as well. I'm really competitive too. Yeah, I feel like it can be a good trait, but sometimes it's not because you're then competing with other people, but then also competing with yourself as well. Um, Fia, I don't buy any clothes. I barely do online shopping. However, I wear makeup every day and I enjoy buying quality makeup. How do I make them fit in the budget? Should I make a sinking fund for it? Yeah, so I would. I'm quite similar. So in terms of clothes, for example, I have a sinking fund for clothes. If I do need to buy makeup, I will just have a sinking fund for makeup. I think with things like that, it's especially because you're buying quality, I don't see it as a problem. I think it's just as long as you plan for it, it's fine. Because what most people will do is they won't plan for it and then they'll end up using their credit card to pay for it, but then they'll just not pay off the credit card. And so that's where the problem lies. But if you actually plan for it and let's say, okay, you're going to be putting a certain amount every single month for makeup because you know you're going to buy it, then yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I think that's probably the better way to go. But yeah, I have a sinking fund for clothes. If I sometimes when it gets to a point where I know that I'm probably going to buy makeup, I will start a sinking fund for that as well. So yeah, I think that'll be fine. Um, you would create a property portfolio with only flats, asked Eva. No, so I am a fan of. I'm not one of those people where because I think you do have a lot of people where they're like, oh no, it's only flats that I buy or it's only houses. I will probably buy both because I don't mind both. To be honest, I think they both have their pros and cons. Like with flats, especially if you aren't a freeholder, if you have a lease with the flat, then obviously you're paying a certain amount, and so that's going to eat out of your costs as well. But then you probably have less maintenance compared to a house. But then with a house, obviously you're probably going to be the freeholder depending on what house you get. So for me, I think there's pros and cons with both, but I'm not in a camp where I'm either or. I probably will have a mix of both. Eva, yes, do a sinking fund for your makeup if you like spending money on it. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I would just probably just do a sinking fund. It just makes it a bit easier as well. You can make a line in your budget for it, a sinking fund. Yep, exactly. If you don't buy it that often, I would do it. Sinking funds all the way, guys. When I first started budgeting, I didn't do sinking funds, that some of you will know, and I think that was probably a very big mistake that I made because it just meant that I kept dipping into my savings whenever I tried to save money. So for me, sinking funds all the way. Are you buying the house you are living in London? So, Lena. Hello, Lena. So no, when I get married, no, because I currently co-own this house already. So we're not going to be buying a house in London yet. We're going to be renting. The main reason is because we don't really know where we're going to be living. So for us, it's pretty much going to be very short term. That's why we're choosing to rent for now. But we also want to at the same time own properties elsewhere, so that's why we're going to get a buy to let. So kind of having the best of both worlds, but then when we know exactly where we want to settle, not sure if it's in London, we'll see, because London is a little bit pricey, but when it comes to us settling, then yes, we will most likely buy a house. How did you find your house? Is it this house you're talking about? So if it's this house, actually, what we basically did is we got it through a government scheme, which I think I wanted to do a video on it, but I'm not sure how to do it, so maybe I'll just talk about it here. So basically, we were living through a housing association at first, and they were basically doing a right to buy scheme. It's a really good scheme actually. So they were basically knocking off, I think it was over £100,000 for the house, which basically meant that actually covered our deposit for the mortgage and obviously some of the equity as well. The only thing is that you have to live in the house for about 5 years, I believe. But we knew that we weren't going to be moving out anytime soon. So yeah, we basically were able to get it and not have to pay for a deposit, which was great. So yeah, if there's any government schemes, obviously making sure that you do your research, but they can be quite good. So yeah, 5 years will go quite quickly actually, which is great. Hey Leah, so you came. Yeah, because I know you mentioned that you missed the last one. So yeah, it's good to see you. Abby, I have a sinking fund for having my first child. That's how much I believe. Do you know, Abby, do you know what? This is something that I've been calculating because children aren't cheap, you know. So I'm kind of like, how much is it likely to cost? And I'm one of those people where I'm very forward thinking. And I think this is linked to when it comes to financial independence. So I have done a video that's quite similar in terms of how you start planning for financial independence, but I'm trying to take into consideration everything. Now, I know I can't take everything into account and I know that things will change, but I want to kind of have guidance and I want to have a bit of an idea as to kind of how everything's, or in terms of how much everything is likely to cost. So for me, I've been looking at nursery fees, how much nurseries are. If I was to have a kid that goes to a nursery in London, how much is that compared to somewhere in the Midlands? Like I'm having to go all in. I'm having to figure out like how much groceries are likely to cost, because that £16 a week that I've been budgeting for myself is not going to run with kids and probably not even going to run with my partner, to be honest. So I'm trying to just figure out not exactly how much, but just a rough guide in terms of how much everything is likely to cost and things like utility bills as well. So yeah, I think I'm a very forward planner, but I think it's so important because yeah, kids aren't cheap. So yeah, I feel like maybe I should just start a sinking fund for kids because yeah, they're very expensive. Hey Jenny. Oh yes, I did have a good week. Yes, happy Palm Sunday. Yes, yeah, no, we had a great service at our church today. It was great. So yeah, it was nice. If you don't mind sharing, how old are you? I am 26 years old. So yes, I'm now in the late 20s. So my birthday's in January, actually. So if you ever want to say happy birthday, it's the middle of January when everyone's broke because they've all spent their money during Christmas and forgotten that it's my birthday in the middle of January and no one gets paid till the end of January. So yeah, that's usually how I spend my birthday. Although I do plan for my birthdays in advance, actually. So because I know that everyone's going to be broke. So I let people know, by the way, if I'm going to do something for my birthday, I let them know from like December time so that they can plan for it. So yeah. Abby, I'm literally mid-upload of my fire video now and did the baby calculations by reading articles and asking for it. I did the same thing. I was reading articles and then I was asking my partner's cousin. I asked her, you know, how much do babies usually cost? And I found actually that babies don't tend to cost that much. It's actually when they start getting older that they're a lot more expensive. So yeah, I'm trying to plan for that. Please could you do another groceries but with a partner? Yes, I will do. Although we're not married yet and because we don't live in the same house at the moment, I don't do groceries yet, but when we obviously get married and yeah, start living together, I will definitely do a video on groceries because he doesn't like Lidl. So I feel like we're going to have to make a compromise. I'm not sure where else we're going to go. I feel like the other supermarkets are expensive and I like Lidl. But maybe it's just because he hasn't tried enough things in Lidl yet. So we'll see. But if there are any other supermarkets that you guys think aren't as expensive, although sometimes I do go to Sainsbury's to get popcorn. Does that count? Because if that counts, then yeah. But I don't do all of my supermarket shopping at Sainsbury's because I think it's a bit expensive, although the quality is quite good though. So but the quality is quite good at Lidl as well, so you may as well just go to Lidl, to be honest. That's what I think. But yeah, kids really aren't cheap. No, they're not cheap, especially if you're planning it, or if you're hoping to have more than one as well. You got to take that into consideration. I have no idea how my mum did it because she had me and then had my other sister like a year and a half later. No idea how she did it, so definitely props to her. Yes, 1995. Oh, I know. Yeah, no, do you know what? Because I remember when I think you did a CJ, I think you did a video. I think it was like a Christmas video where you basically said how old you were, and I was like, oh yeah, we're the same age. So yeah, it's always nice to see people that are the same age. Enjoy your late 20s. Yes, I will do. I'm trying to be as I think I'm trying to be a bit more less risk averse, I would say, just because I think I'm at the age where I can take a bit more risk because I don't have any dependents or anything like that. So I'm just trying to enjoy it whilst I can. Yep, Aldi's exactly. Lidl and Aldi are like my favorite stores. So yeah, I love both of them. But yeah, he's not a massive fan, so we'll have to change that soon. Is Chester, in terms of house pricing, a good price to live? I'm not actually sure. I've never really looked at Chester, to be honest. Is Chester? I assume Chester is near. That's near the Midlands, isn't it? So it really depends on not just in terms of the area, but in terms of the house, like where the house is located as well in the area. But if you literally look at Rightmove or Zoopla or any place like that, you can see sort of roughly how much house prices are likely to be. So, and you can compare it probably to other places. So I tend to look at, you know, if I'm going to look at Liverpool, what's the price compared to somewhere in Manchester? But then also remembering that not all areas are going to be the same. So they're going to be nicer areas in Liverpool, which are probably going to cost a bit more compared to other areas in Liverpool. But obviously that's going to be depending on, you know, the type of people that you might want to rent out the house and the area that you want to basically buy that house in as well. Aldi is not expensive, and I used to take advantage of reduced prices from time to time in Tesco. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. The reason why I tend to shop in Lidl mostly is because Lidl's closest to me. If I go to Aldi, it's a little bit further out, but sometimes I will just go to Aldi. But I think because they're quite similar. I remember in uni though, because our Aldi, no, I think we had Aldi or Lidl, that was quite far. So sometimes I'd have to go Tesco. But yeah, I'd be looking for those bargain prices as well. There are certain times, I think, I didn't know, was it like late at night where they start reducing prices or something? We had like a 24-hour Tesco. So do you know what? In uni, I don't think I was as bad as I thought I was when it came to money. I think there were certain things where I was quite frugal in terms of trying to find out, okay, when the price is going to decrease just based on the certain times. And sometimes I would take cash out rather than use my card, because I knew that if I would use my card, then I'd probably just spend money all over the place. So there were some things that I think I did okay. And then other times it was absolutely shambolic, like using my overdraft to fund holidays. So that was quite bad. But you learn from your mistakes. So if you are currently in uni, please learn from my mistakes. You know, it's just something that I regret doing, but I've learned from it. And so, yeah, I'm kind of happy that that's kind of all paid off now as well. As though is also kind of cheap. Please, could you do a challenge vid where you only have £10 to eat a week? Oh, that is a really interesting topic. Yeah, sometimes I do go to Asda actually, because Asda's not too far from where I live. £10 a week, that's a challenge. I think if I did that, I probably wouldn't buy meat. I'd say it'd probably be plant-based. But I take you up on that challenge, so I'm going to note that down and I will do it because you've challenged me, so thank you for that. Once you get married and go to live with your husband, you should do a video about sharing finances and how to reach agreements with grocery shopping and other expenses. Yes, that is something that we wanted to do. I think there are a couple of things that I wanted to do as well, because he doesn't mind being on camera, which is quite nice. So I think that's definitely something that we've currently started to go through, how we're going to like share finances and stuff. So I think we'll definitely talk about that, how we saved for our wedding as well, because we paid cash for our wedding. Like we literally all we did is just save money. There's no credit cards. I mean, I did use a credit card to buy things, but we had money to then pay it off. So we didn't go into no credit card debt, none of that. Just save up the old fashioned way, save up, pay cash. That's it. So yeah, we can definitely do a video on that as well. How much can you get for £10 in different shop every week? Do you know, in fact, guys, you're just giving me topics. Thank you. Do you know what I think this is what I need to do. So I need to do one where I like have £10 and I go and spend it and see how much I can get. But then also, yeah, like look at how much I'd be able to buy with my own sort of food, like my own recipes in terms of what I buy in a week, but then I should do it where I go to different supermarkets and basically buy the same thing and see like how much it comes to. Very good idea. You guys are giving me gold. Thank you. What broker do you have? Hi, John. What broker do you have an ISA in, and can you make a video on it? So I do have a couple of videos on it. So I use, in terms of my platform, I use Trading 212. So I have a couple of stock portfolio videos on there. Hopefully, if you just check out my channel, I should have one. I've got one coming out on Tuesday, actually. So yeah, definitely check that out. So that's the platform I use. And so yeah, I've got a couple of videos on there. And then I also recently opened a FREETRADE account as well. So I'm just currently testing that out. The interface is quite good, actually. It's very similar to Trading 212. So yeah. How much would you suggest I save for emergency funds? I moved back home to live with my mum and she supports me completely, so I don't see the need for emergency fund as of yet. Yeah, it's a really good question. So I think you're probably in a similar situation to myself. So it really depends. It's really going to depend on your goals, to be honest. So some people feel comfortable with 3 months worth of expenses. Some people feel comfortable with 6 months. You've got some people that are comfortable with 9 months to a year or anything like that. So I would probably try and figure out what you're comfortable with, and then just look at what your current expenses are. If you know that you're going to stay with your mum for quite a long time, figure out, okay, what are my expenses usually day to day? Do I want 3 months worth of expenses? Am I comfortable with that? Am I comfortable with 6 months? So at the moment, I currently have 3 months worth of expenses, but to be honest, it's more 3 months worth of expenses if I was to move out, I would say. If I'm actually at home, I could probably stretch it to 6 months because I don't pay too much either. So yeah, I would just try and figure out what you're comfortable with. Just identify your risk tolerance as well and just figure out, would you rather have a lot of money in the bank as your emergency fund, or are you okay with just having a few months? What credit card do you use? Benefits, I need to get one. So yeah, so I use the American Express Gold card. So if you want to ever use an Amex card, just you can DM me on Instagram and I'll send you a refer a friend link. But yeah, I use that card, and so the benefits that I tend to get, so that's with, you have to spend a certain amount of money with the gold card. There are different Amex cards that you can get that you don't actually have to spend a certain amount, but I think you had to spend £3,000 in, I think it was the first 6 months, and then you basically get bonus points, and then you can either use that for like air miles, or you can use it for Amazon. So I think it's like worth £125 on Amazon, for example. And there are other places that actually you can start using the points, but you get like Avios points. So I wanted to use it for our honeymoon, basically. So that kind of helps with the flights and things like that. So it's quite good. Obviously, I pay off my balance every single month, so I don't. It's not difficult for me to just pay off my balance, to be honest, because I only use it for general spending. And then also I used it for our wedding as well. So whenever we purchase something for our wedding, I use the card. So that's kind of how I knew I would spend that £3,000, mainly because of the wedding, actually. That's how we've been able to spend it. And yeah, if anyone like in my house also wants to get something, like if they want to get something big, I'm like, oh, just use my card and then you can pay me, because then I get the points. So yeah. How do you strike a balance between living your life and saving and investing? My savings percent has been so good, but I often feel deprived. I really want to say and drop £300 on a customized wig. Oh, do you know, yeah, I think I don't want to say like don't live your life, because I think you should be able to live your life, but then also save and invest for tomorrow. So for me, I tend to look at my goals. So if I know that I want to be financially independent within the next 10 years, I know that I need to sacrifice a bit more of today than for my tomorrow, just because I know when I know when I want to reach financial independence. If you don't want to reach financial independence that quickly, let's say you don't mind working till like you're 50 or 60, then that means that you could probably live a bit more today, and then obviously still invest for tomorrow, but you know that you've got a longer horizon. So I think it really depends on your goals. With things like buying the wigs, I just do a sinking fund for it, honestly. So if you knew that, okay, you're going to be spending £300, let's say that you want to get that in within the next 6 months, well, do a sinking fund, divide that by the 6 months. And there you go. So for me, it's just kind of figuring out your goals first, and then you'll be able to identify how much you should be prioritizing saving and investing. But I personally definitely prioritize it a lot more, I'd say, compared to other people. But that's because I want to reach financial independence a bit more. And also because I don't, for some reason, I don't tend to spend as much money anymore, because I think there are just other things that I like to do in my spare time that now don't require that much money, if that makes sense. How long do you plan to live with your mum? You should have an emergency fund anyway. Oh, yep. I think either you are answering Fia's question. Good questions. I've just started a YouTube account. A new series, 6 episodes this week. Is what you bought a certain stock at IPO with 1,000. How much would you have? Oh, no, very interesting, George. No, I'll have to check it out. Please could you try using supermarket recipes for a week and seeing how much it costs you and if you think it's worth it? Yeah, I should try. I will try that out. Yeah, it's weird because but I don't want to make it look like I'm a food channel, because I'm not like a amazing cook. I mean, I cook, but I'm quite boring with my recipes. But I'll probably look at more like the cost in terms of whether it's value for money and whether it's worth it. And also interviewing stock YouTubers every week. Oh, nice. Well, good luck on your channel. I hope it's going well. Yeah, I love seeing fellow YouTubers as well. Just, seeing everyone that's like grinding and stuff. I love it. You should open a Vanguard account. All my stocks on Trading 212 are down. However, my Vanguard is doing great. I think it probably, well, the platform, it depends on what you're investing in. So with Trading 212, you can invest in a Vanguard fund. But a Vanguard account, that's the platform, but you can also invest in Vanguard funds, but you can't invest in other individual companies. So I think I tend to look at the platforms as different than to the funds, because I also invest in Vanguard funds, and my funds are up. But obviously I've got a couple of individual companies where they're a bit down. So I think it just depends on what you're investing in terms of the funds that you're doing, or, if you're investing in individual companies. Could you also do how many meals you can make for £5? Yeah, I can try and do it, I think, but just because I'm quite boring with my meals. So I mean, one thing you could do is like chicken and potato with some vegetables. I think that's usually £5. That will last me the week, by the way, as well. So yeah, I'll try and do a couple of videos. If you guys like food videos, I can see, so I'll have to do more of that. Would love a video sometime on how you did right to buy on your current place. Yeah, I should do a video on that. I don't really remember, because I think it was 2017 that we did it, so I'll just have to get the details. It really wasn't too difficult, especially because when you work with a mortgage broker, it does make life a bit easier. There was a lot of paperwork involved, and there were certain things, when you're taking out a mortgage, just like you'd get a normal house, in terms of, if you're working, do you have 3 months worth of bank statements and all of that. So yeah, but I'll try and do a video on that, hopefully, if I get a bit more information, because there was a pilot scheme that they were doing as well. I don't know if they've actually now rolled it out, and that you could do it like if you have a council house, or if you work with like housing association. So I'll definitely have to just do a bit more research on that. How much is your fully funded emergency fund, if you don't mind me asking? So at the moment, my fully funded emergency fund is about £3,000. So again, that's probably 5 months, I would say. I could stretch to 6 months if I really had to. But we've also increased, with me and my partner, it will be £6,000 when we move in. So that's about 3 months worth of expenses. I got my gold Amex just before I got married too. It was a lifesaver. Yes, exactly. And the reward points. Yes. But now I'm like questioning whether we can still go on our honeymoon because of everything that's going on. But yeah, also with the Amex card, I think I got like you have like 2 spaces to go to the lounge in like one of the airports. So whether it's like Gatwick or anything like that, which I thought was quite good, because free food, who doesn't like free food? So yeah, but I don't know actually if they'll still have it open, to be honest, because I haven't been to an airport. If you've been to an airport, let me know, like how is it, because I've not traveled. I haven't actually traveled for a good couple of years, because obviously I was trying to pay off my debt as well. So yeah, that was one thing I had to sacrifice. I didn't go on any holidays, unfortunately. I think the last holiday I went on was in 2018. And then I think after that, a couple of months is when I realized how broke I was, and then had to have a plan to pay off my debt, which meant that I had to then give up holidays. So I did not go anywhere, unfortunately. And usually I try to go on holiday for my birthday, but yeah, that was a big no-no because I had a lot of debt to pay. But yeah, luckily I paid that all off. And yeah, sometimes you just got to make sacrifices as well. So yeah, if you're struggling to pay off debt, just make sure you just think about the long term, you know, why do you want to pay off your debt? What is that going to do? You'll have money because you won't have payments. So when I finally paid off my car, it was great because I then had another £200 in my pocket, which was amazing. So yeah, hopefully that gives you some motivation. I like the food videos too. You're so good at chatting live. Oh, thank you. Creating balance. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's a bit nervous because you're obviously chatting to a screen. So sometimes I'm a bit nervous, but I think because it's my second live now, I feel like I'm a bit used to it now. It just feels like I'm just having a chat with you guys on a Sunday night before I go to bed. This time though, I made sure to have my dinner before the live because last time I didn't and I was absolutely starving and then realized that I had to go to bed. So now I had my dinner before this, and then after this I am going to head up and get ready for bed. When you move in with your husband, will you have all of your income and expenses in one joint account? Yes. Short answer, yes. We had chatted about it. We have been discussing whether we want to have like a separate spending account. So that's something that we're talking about. But in terms of the bills and things like that, it will be a joint account just because for us, in terms of our goals, it makes sense. And how we're kind of putting our finances together and investing together. So for us, it kind of just makes sense. How to reduce financial expenses when in a relationship. Yeah, do you know, and I think especially depending who you are with your partner, I think we're quite lucky in terms of the things that we like to do. We don't need to go out to the Shard every other weekend and eat. We don't have to do that. So we tend to try and find things that are relatively cheap or more affordable, I guess, or just you just don't have to spend that much money. Like obviously we'd still like to, you know, go out to eat once in a while, but it's just something we don't do every single weekend, if that makes sense. So there are other things that you could probably do at home that we'd like to do. But yeah, we can try and we'll do a video. I'll ask my partner if he wants to do a video because he's normally quite good with that as well. You have to use those lounges, are amazing. Yeah, I know. I really want to try it because if not, because I think what they said was that after the first 2 free ones, it's like £20 per person to go into the lounges. I was like, I don't want to spend £20 on the lounge, so I just want to use the free one and just see how it is. Obviously, if it's value for money, then fair enough. But yeah, well, free drink and alcohol and food as well. Wow, that's really interesting. Some even have showers. Right, they closed them for a while, but they might be open up again soon. I'm hoping so because yeah, I love to have free food, especially, you know, like when you're in the airport. Airport food is so expensive, don't you think? Like every time I go to the airport, I'm like, why am I spending so much money on a like £4 on a sandwich when I could literally get it half price? Like if I just left to go to another place an hour before, like 20 minutes away. Like so expensive, so annoying. Favorite financial YouTuber? Oh, to be fair, I have a few. So if I'm thinking about the US, Minority Mindset is probably my most favorite YouTuber. If you don't know who he is, even though he's in the US, definitely check him out. I absolutely love that. He's honestly amazing, and I think he's very inspirational to me just because he makes finance videos very entertaining. So I think I take a lot of inspiration in terms of just trying to make it entertaining as well. For the UK, I have 2. So my favorite one, which most of you probably know, is Mama Furfur and The Humble Penny. They're my favorite 2. I absolutely love them, and I think they were the ones where I was really looking towards them when I was trying to pay off my debt and just think about my finances, especially from a UK perspective, because again, there weren't a lot of UK YouTubers when I was doing all my finances and just trying to, you know, sort all of that stuff out. Although now, actually, at the moment, there's actually a lot of finance YouTubers, which is great because then it means that people can learn from different people. And for example, if you don't like my videos, then you can obviously go to someone else. But I'm hoping if you're here that you like my videos. So if you haven't subscribed to me and you like my videos, make sure you subscribe to me as well if you like. Favorite personal finance book? Mine is The Richest Man in Babylon. I do really like The Richest Man in Babylon. The only thing I think was just the language. I was just trying to get used to the language, but the principles, they're solid principles, and they're principles that I always try to live by. My favorite book is probably Rich Dad Poor Dad, actually. I think that is the book that honestly changed my mindset, just changed everything. So I think that's probably my favorite book, and that's probably why I talk about it all the time. But then also, the author also has another book called Cash Flow Quadrant. I really like that book as well. It's just really interesting just to see his mind in terms of the different quadrants and where people are likely to stay. But yeah, those books, very good. But I also have other favorite financial books as well. HelloFresh, is that the food, or is that the food company where you order in the recipes and they like give you a is it kind of like Gusto? I think I've heard of it. Or where they give you basically all the ingredients and then they give you like a recipe that you can do. Let me know, because I'm not too sure if I know about HelloFresh. But yeah, if it's similar to Gusto, then yeah, I've not tried any of those kind of food companies though, because I tend to just buy it from the supermarket. Budgeting. Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite. Yeah, Jaspreet Singh. Honestly, he's amazing. And I think he's been doing this for about 4 or 5 years as well. Well, his YouTube channel anyway. So he's great. He's honestly he's amazing. I think he's just so inspirational, and I think just if you're looking at how the kind of economy works and how the system works as well, I learned a lot from him. I actually learned a lot from a video as well. If you've never watched it, by Ray Dalio, I think it's called How the Economy Works. Definitely check that video out, because it honestly opened my mind. And if you don't understand economics, or you never understand like why people are talking about inflation and, you know, all of those terms, like check that video out, because it just explains it in so much more detail. And I think that's why I understood why investing was so important, just because of what tends to happen when it comes to things like inflation and the way systems work, and booms and busts as well. So, you know, when people see stocks going down and then they end up selling them because they're now, you know, worried about the world is ending, but then they will tend to buy when it's like all the way up here. And then they end up losing money because they're now like selling at a loss because they bought all the way up here and then they're selling down here. So for me, that video is honestly it's so great. So definitely check it out, especially if you want to learn how the economy works and why people invest as well. I think it's really important. Oh, so it is like Gusto. Oh, okay. First box arrived today and we'll be trying it next week. I'll have to do a video on that, trying out HelloFresh or Gusto, and see it helps with our food waste. Yeah, because I don't tend to waste that much food, because I think because now I'm so strict with what I buy during the week, I don't tend to have a lot of food waste, especially because I meal prep everything and I meal plan. And so if I don't eat something, I will freeze it and then just eat it on another day. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So definitely let me know. If you're 20 or younger, best jobs and budgeting methods. Yeah, interesting. So when I was 20, what was I doing? So I worked in retail, like in my late teens, early 20s, I would say. So to be honest, any job that you can find that kind of pays money, like when you're under 20, well, depending actually, because it will depend on, you know, if you went to uni and you're maybe looking for a part-time job, or if you're not going to uni and you're looking to go into a full-time job, because you might be thinking, oh, do you want to go into apprenticeships, or do you want to just go into working full-time? So I think it probably just depends. It'll depend on your industry as well. But in terms of budgeting methods, I'd probably just, to be fair, I really like the zero-based budget method. I think that kind of works with everyone. So I tried to get my sister to do it, and she's currently 17 years old, and she's actually started doing it. But then there's also other budgeting methods that you could do. You could do like the 50-30-20 rule. You could do things like that and just literally allocate it by percentages, zero-based budget. There's also the cash envelope system as well. So it's really it's more based on kind of what you prefer. If you like to buy things in cash, then you could do that. But obviously, depending on, you know, what's happening when you go to stores and stuff, because I know some stores don't really accept cash and things like that. So yeah. I buy a lot of organic food, more expensive, but I don't even waste veggies. Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I think when it comes to food, I think if it's good for you and you know that, you know, that's something that you like and it's something that you value, then definitely go for it. And especially if you're not wasting it. I think when I'm talking about like being cheap, for me, I think it's still important to know that you're buying quality. So even though I know Lidl's cheap, because the quality is good, I will still buy there, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why I like Lidl, because I think they're both good in both quality and food price as well. YouTube seems natural to you. When was it when you decided to start one, and why did you decide? Yeah, it's weird because I never thought I'd feel natural talking to a computer, because yeah, I've never really been massive on social media. I didn't really tend to use social media very much. It might have been because I did drama in school for GCSEs, maybe that's why. But in terms of me deciding why I wanted to start a channel, is probably just because I didn't really see a lot of people that looked like me talking about personal finance. And I knew that actually when I started on my personal finance journey, there were a lot of US YouTubers. And so it was quite difficult for me to understand, okay, if this person's talking about 401ks, what does that mean? Is that pensions or is that something different? So me trying to figure out exactly, you know, what's different to theirs and what does that mean for me, it was a little bit difficult. And you kind of just had to go through I had to go through a lot of research, to be honest, although there were other YouTubers from the UK that were really helpful. But yeah, I just thought, well, there's not a lot of people that look like me doing it, so I may as well talk through my own mistakes and what I've learned. And I kind of wanted to make it a bit more entertaining as well, because I think you have a lot of YouTubers that currently do sit down videos when it comes to personal finance, but I kind of wanted to be a bit different in terms of the way I deliver my information. So yeah, hopefully that was useful. But yeah, obviously not everyone is going to like you and not everyone's going to like how I do my videos. Some people say that I talk too fast. Some people say that I move my hands around too much, but that's just who I am and I can't change that. So I think that's why it's so great that you have so many different YouTubers, because you will have people that don't talk too fast and that actually slow it down and don't move their hands around. So I think it's great because then it means the audience have other people that they can subscribe to. I use a mix of budgets, but mainly is based on the automatic budget for the not budget from David. But yes, exactly. That's also another thing that you could do. So, for example, if you wanted to just automate everything, I think technically I tend to do that sometimes anyway. But because I like to move things physically around for me, just because I find it fun, that's kind of what I want to do. That's why I like to do it. And I kind of want to have a bit of an idea as to kind of how my spending is doing. Although I don't think I'm that strict when it comes to tracking my expenses. Really, the main reason is because I know that I've paid myself first, and because I know I've taken a huge chunk out of my money into my savings already. If I end up like spending more money on eating out, it doesn't really bother me because I know that I've saved most of my money already. So that's why I don't really tend to track it as much as maybe other people. I made about 20 practice ones before I posted. Yeah, so I did actually do a video first that I didn't post. So it was kind of a practice one, but I wanted to post it. But then my sister just said that, oh no, you can't just have a plain background. So I then had to do another one. But yeah, the first one is always the hardest. And then after that, you kind of get used to it. Like the first live was the hardest, to be honest, because, you know, you've never done it before and you're like, oh gosh, you're now talking to a camera. What if no one shows up? So it's nice to see that people have actually showed up as well. But I think it's something that you get used to. And yeah, I kind of just wanted to get to know you guys a bit more, and hopefully you got to know me a bit more as well. But yeah, the time is going so quick as well. It's almost 2 minutes to 8, so I probably will leave it at 8. Have you done a no spend period? No, I have not, but I would like to do it one time. I think it's just because I don't spend that much money anyway. I don't know how meaningful it would be for me, because I only spend, I think I probably only spend like 20% of all my income. So it's not very much, but I definitely want to try it out. So there's a lot of things that I want to, maybe I'll just try it out just for a video because I think it'll be fun. Like all these food challenges that you guys have now given me that I need to try and plan out and see how I do it. So yeah. Yeah, no, there are a few people here. I think there's like 20 of you here. So it's just nice to have a chat and see how you guys are doing. But I think I'm going to leave it here for now because it's almost 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, your time with me. If you've got any other questions, always let me know. So I will be posting, I think I'll be doing lives once a month. Like I've said before, it'll probably be around the end of the month, just because now it's like the end of the month. So yeah, I'll probably do it then. But yeah, it was nice getting to know you guys. If you've ever got any questions, you can DM me on Instagram as well. I'm on there. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening and hopefully we will talk soon. Bye guys.